Gary Coleman speaks out on the subject of milk.
If it's so good for you, how come we live longer than cows?
See Gary in his new series this November on NBC.
When you hear the words Diff'rent Strokes, it's hard not to think about actor Gary Coleman. For sure, the diminutive actor had some real comedic chops. His delivery of certain lines, well, they were comedy gold, and catchphrases like, "What you talking about, Willis?" still resonate in today's culture. That said, this video is not about Gary. Maybe I'll do one about Mr. Coleman another time, but not today. This video is about an actress who was a critical part of the success of Diff'rent Strokes, Dana Plato, who played Big Sister Kimberly Drummond. On Diff'rent Strokes, Plato was perfectly cast. She had just the right amount of cute appeal. Yep, I said it, cute appeal for the role. She was pretty, but in a girl next door who was your friend's sister kind of way. And you really believed that she cared about her two adoptive brothers. Like I said, she was perfectly cast. I really feel like in many ways, way more than actor Conrad Bain and good old Mrs. Garrett, she was the glue that held the show together during those early years. And I don't think I have to spend a ton of time talking about the success of the show. It was a runaway hit for NBC. It was one of those shows that was so popular that when NBC finally decided to end its run, another network, in this case ABC, decided to pick it up and air it for another season. Man, I really love this TV guide cover. I remember seeing it at the little corner grocery store that was located just down the street from where I lived and immediately grabbing it. Now, to be truthful, I made that 40-cent purchase for two reasons. One, because back then I loved to scour that magazine from front to back and really plan out my week of viewing. Yep, I was just that kind of kid. But the second reason was because of the girl on the cover. She was just so darn pretty. Yikes, that's not pretty. Now why are we looking at Linda Blair's possessed little demon girl here instead of another picture of Dana? Well, because Dana had the chance to be this girl before Linda did. Little known fact is that Dana was offered the role but ended up passing on it because her adoptive parents didn't feel good about it. Speaking of adoptive parents, Dana was born in California in 1964. Hey, that's the year I was born. To a teenage, unwed mother who already had another child. Before she was one, the young mother made the difficult decision to give Dana up to a young couple, Dean and Kay Plato. And then when Dana was 3, that couple divorced and Dana lived with her mother from that point on. During Dana's formative years, her mother helped her find work as a model and a child actress.
Wrigley Spearmint Gum says hello.
Wrigley Spearmint? We all like it. Me and all my friends.
As she moved into her teenage years, she found work as a model in print advertisements, such as this one for Noxzema Acne Cream. So Diff'rent Strokes ran from 1978 to 1986, and while Dana was a constant presence throughout most of the series' run, she became pregnant during Series 6, and her character was written out of the show in such a way that she was able to depart from the series and then return to make guest appearances after the birth of her son. This wasn't optimal for Dana, but it would have been a huge challenge for the show to incorporate Dana's pregnancy into the series' storyline. I don't know though, it seems like Diff'rent Strokes had a bunch of those very special episodes. Maybe Dana's baby bulge could have been another one of those. After the show was finally canceled by ABC, things kinda went south for Dana. Hard times for sure. While the other actors from the show seemed to be finding opportunities to act and stay in the public limelight, Dana just kinda slipped away. She divorced her husband, lost custody of her child, and to make ends meet, she started working at a laundromat in Las Vegas. People that saw her there were surprised by her humility, her easygoing nature, her willingness to work hard and do whatever it took to make ends meet. They said she was approachable and, get this, even fun to talk to. Sadly, things took a turn for the worse when Dana made the absolutely bizarre decision to rob a Vegas video store. Most people agree that this wasn't about the money. If I remember correctly, she left the store with less than $200 cash. This was definitely a cry for help, and a desperate one at that. End of the day, I can only kinda understand what she was going through. She felt like she'd lost everything. Her fame was gone, her family ties were crumbling around her, and yep, she made a really dumb decision. Alright, so at this point I'm going to stop and say I don't know Wayne Newton, and I've never been a fan of his music, but I am a fan of the man. Why? Because from out of nowhere, Mr. Las Vegas himself swooped in and saved the day. He provided the bail necessary to get Dana out of jail. And turn things around she did. The press would have you believe that she continued to struggle. But here's what I know. Dana found work. She worked in B movies. She appeared in a really cool video game called Night Trap.
How could you let that happen?
And yes, she appeared in Playboy. And while some may look at that decision as a bad one, and others can argue that it moved her career in the wrong direction, it was at the very least an honest day's work. Much like the laundromat, Dana worked hard at whatever she could. One could say she was in survival mode. And now we get to the picture that inspired this video. I love this one. Both Dana and Gary are gone now, but you can just feel the love that Dana has in her heart for her two TV siblings. It feels authentic and genuine. More than the peck on Coleman's cheek, it's the way her hands hold both of her brothers. Yep, I called them her brothers because you know what? Regardless of actual biology, they really were. It's weird to think that both Gary and Dana are gone now. In fact, Conrad Bain and Charlotte Ray are gone as well, which leaves only Todd Bridges as the sole survivor of the original cast members from the show. Who'd have thought things would turn out that way? So like I said, Dana's gone now. She's been gone since 1999. Initially ruled as an accidental overdose, later on it was determined that it was a probable suicide. I don't know how you determine things like that, but Dana was a fighter. She wasn't always strong, but she found ways time and time again to pick herself back up after she fell. It wasn't always pretty, but her determination, her desire to plow forward, to exist in a world, yep, I'm talking about showbiz here, that tends to chew people up and eat them for lunch, well, it was admirable. And while the media ran amok with stories about Dana's final days, here's where I prefer to spend my time. This is a moment that truly captures Dana Plato. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But come on, let's all agree that it was mostly good. So that's it. Do you remember Dana Plato and Diff'rent Strokes? And were you a fan of the show? And in particular, were you a fan of Ms. Plato's the way that I was? If so, let me know in the comments section below. And while you're at it, please click on the thumbs up icon. And why not consider whether you'd like to subscribe to my channel. I talk about music, movies, and television, mostly from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know, the good stuff. But most importantly, and as always, thank you so much for watching.